Hello, welcome to All Sex Talk. This is El Master Taíno, and tonight we are going to be talking about sexual repression. We are going to say no to sexual repression. Sexual repression is bad. We as human beings are sexual in nature. We're sexual beings, and it's okay to express our sexuality. But there are many things going around why people repress different fantasies, fetishes that they may have. If you repress your sexuality, is the key to being extremely miserable. So that's a no-no. You have to liberate yourself. You have to find the ways to express your own sexuality. In the leather community, we usually call ourselves as sex radicals or sex rebels because we do practice sex any way we want. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that we find joy, connection with ourselves and with the people we play with and the people we have sex with. So the main thing that we have is that sex is just intercourse. And then, there's the kissing and the hugging, hugging and cuddling and all this stuff. And that's what most people do. And even, some people are extremists that tell you that sex is only for reproduction or something like that. Well, gay or straight, you all have fantasies. You all have things in your head that tells you, I would like to do this. I would like to explore that. But you are kind of thinking that you cannot, that what other people are going to think, etc. So this is important that you feel comfortable with your sexuality and what you want to do. Fantasies are good. The only problem you have to have careful with fantasies is that sometimes people fantasize with things that really cannot be done, that are way beyond reality. So you have to have and make sure that your fantasies fit reality, things that you can do. Sometimes you need the particular circumstances to be able to fulfill a fantasy, but it's okay to have fantasy. What we shouldn't do is to be obsessed with a fantasy. Sometimes we have a fantasy and we just have to wait until the opportunity arises for us to fulfill that particular fantasy. A lot of the things that people fantasize about is the BDSM. All the different things that we do in BDSM that we're going to be talking a lot in detail in this channel. And, and there is a mix there because people are attracted to the idea of BDSM, but do have a lot of concerns or a lot of misconceptions about what we do in BDSM. So it's okay to explore BDSM, but what you should do is check with their classes so you can understand what is behind bondage, what is behind spanking, or any other things that are out there. And then find within a community, try to find people where you can explore with, people that you can trust, especially if you're submissive. And most people has to start as submissive because they don't know anything else. So that is something very common. And then talking about submissive, that is another fantasy. People fantasize about submitting, surrendering to another person during sex. And that could be something mild, but that could involve something more engaging, where you surrender your body and your mind to whatever your partner, your dominant partner, decides that he wants to do, as long as obviously is consensual. Um, and the dominant is the same thing. You need to find somebody who will trust you and will surrender for you to decide what to do. And I'm dominant, so I like to be in charge and I like to do the things that I like to do. But one thing I do have as a dominant and as an educator is that I like to teach my newbies, my people who are new, what I am doing. I just don't play without explaining people what this is all about. And a lot of dominant don't do that. And that is important because when you're new, you want to get an idea what you're getting into so you could consent, okay? Another fantasy very common, especially with young people, is having any type of interaction, sexual interaction, exploration with somebody much older. And that's where all the daddy boy comes, etc. And for society at large, that is like, oh my God, why the older people are not looking for older and the younger looking for younger? Well, there is no rule. We are all attracted to whoever we want to be attracted. And it's important to also determine that, you know, connection is people have different needs and people need to connect. And there is a lot of people who like older people and older people who like younger people. And I'm going to do a video just on that topic sometime in the near future. But that is another no-no in the society at large, but it's something that we normally like to explore. Another one is threesomes or group sex. That is when you want to play or to have sex with more than one person. And they are fine. You know, they are fun. The only issue that I have is that people should know each other and know what they're getting into when they make a group of three or more sometimes of people that want. Sometimes there are two couples playing with each other partners, and that's perfectly okay. You can explore whatever you want, inclusively, especially in the straight community. There is a fetish of swingers, and there are clubs where couples, male, female, go to these clubs to play with another couple, male, female. They exchange couples, and that's perfectly okay. You know, the beauty of that is that when we are able to fulfill our sexual need with a different person than our partner, we take pressure of our partners. I don't think one person can fulfill all the sexual needs of another. So when we have that window of going and exploring with somebody else, that helps. That helps their relationship. Another fantasy that a lot of people has, and it's not that easy, is the famous gang bang. Well, they want to bottom to 5'10" top with big dicks and all that stuff. And girls do the same. Girls also had that fantasy of being penetrated by more than by a group. Well, unless you are in a sexual party where there is a lot of people, it's very difficult for example, to meet in a top and that top is going to find 5 or 6 friends to fuck you. No, that's not that easy. So you got to be real. I know there's a lot of videos out there that that put you horny with that fantasy. But be real. If you go to a sex party, there you can. And remember always to be safe. Another fantasy is probably sex. A lot of people like to feel how is having sex in the country, outdoors. You know, and that's fine. I remember when I started in BDSM many years ago, I did have that fantasy and I had the opportunity and it was great when I could tie up somebody between 2 trees instead of in a dungeon. And it was different and being outdoors at night or whatever. So that's all okay. Obviously you have to be careful when you do it. You know, got to be a place that you are safe. Another interesting thing is when the fantasies involve people of different sexual orientation, meaning a straight guy who like to explore with another guy, or a straight girl who want to explore with another girl. Gay people have that, but not that often, in the sense that gay people, a gay man, for example, wanted to explore with a woman. It happened, it does happen, but it's not as common as the straight people wanted to explore gay sex. And we're going to have also a full video on that because I have very interesting experiences and ideas that I could share with you. So what you cannot do that you may think and fantasize about, well, you cannot do anything that you don't have consent to. So if another person doesn't consent for something, you cannot do it. Everything you do with another person has to be consensual. So you cannot hurt, you cannot force somebody into doing something. And obviously, the two major things. Rape, that's not a fantasy. That is a crime. Children, that's not a fantasy. That is a crime and a mental illness for the real pedophiles. But those are no-nos. Rapes in children, forget it. You cannot do that, even if the thought comes to your mind. Those you take away. You have to explore your sexuality in any way that you don't hurt somebody else. That is the basic rule that you have to have. What is the main problem that people has with repression? The judgment of others, the rules of society. We are too immersed of what other people may think about ourselves, or what you're supposed to do, or what is going to happen if somebody knows. And that's why we call ourselves sex radicals and sex rebels, because we don't follow the rules of society. We follow the rules of our heart. We like to do what we want to do. And it's different to what other people do, so be it. It's what we want and like to do, and it's okay to do it. That's the important thing that you got to get in your mind. You're not crazy for having fantasies. You will be crazy if you repress your fantasy. Let me tell you what happens when you repress your fantasy. The fantasy, or you desire, your feelings to explore something, whatever it is not going to go away. If it is there, if it is part of who you are, it's not going to go away. So what you do then, you have to do something about it. You got to explore. If you don't explore, those fantasies become more and more intense. And the more you repress them throughout the years in your life, the more strong they come until the moment that you cannot repress it anymore, or you become completely miserable. So that is what is important. I can tell you how many cases in my life I have found that people who come to me and explore a little bit of BDSM and say, well, I don't think this is for me. This is okay, but it's not for me. And you say, well, that's fine. You know, it might not be for you, but I want them. If those feelings about exploring this continue in your head and in your heart, they're not going to go away. They're going to haunt you all your life. So be ready, say no to repression, and explore. Begin to explore in a safe manner with safe partners. You can explore anything that you want to explore and have a happy, healthy sexual life. I'm glad you're here. We will continue to having more videos for you to continue learning from what I humbly can teach you. Please subscribe. There is a button there. And this program also will be in Spanish at the same time. I will see you next time.